What up, people? Just wanted to do a quick video, right? The topic that I wanted to bring up is respect. And where I want to focus that topic in general is when you're talking to and the relationship you have with your children. I want to speak on that because a lot of times people make it seem like respect between you and your child is a one-sided situation, when at every standpoint in every situation, every age, it's the same thing. It's a two-way street. You create a bond with your child by the way you respect them, how you respect their feelings, how you respect their thoughts, their positions on certain things. And that respect is how you're able to teach that child which direction to go with those thoughts. Initially, it might be misguided, but at the end of the day, it's built off of that respect. I don't know if many people are familiar with this, but my older viewers are going to understand exactly what I'm talking about. There's a movie that came out a long time ago. Don't remember which year it came out, but it was called Dangerous Minds. And the special thing about that movie is it was a real bad school. And it's another movie out like that with Morgan Freeman, kind of similar like that. I forget what it's called, Cooley High or something like that. But the one I want to talk about is Dangerous Minds, right? If you ever get a chance, try to watch that movie, Dangerous Minds, right? And it's a teacher. She comes into the school and the kids is bad. They just doing their own thing all the time. Doing their thing all the time, the whole time. But she's able to teach them because she's able to gain their respect. And the reason why that's so essential, because if you don't gain somebody's respect, you're never able to teach them effectively. Because once they lose your respect, they ain't listening to anything you got to say. And once the ears close up, the respect is hard to get. I mean, it's not hard to get back. It is hard to get back, but it's hard to teach when a person don't respect you. So that same thought process has to go into when you're talking to your kids. I don't care how old they is. You always got to be able to respect them, no matter, and especially when they bad. Like if they acting crazy, how you respond to their bad behavior is another form of respect. And sometimes, it goes deeper into how you respect yourself and the person you are and how you feel about yourself, which is how you respond to it. But before I go into all of that, I want to speak on the fact that when that child is bad, no matter how old they are, you gotta teach with respect. You gotta teach with love. Love is how you gain that respect. You showing them something. You gotta show them, like, even though that teacher might not have been their parent or their guardian, she had a level of respect for each of them because she was able to teach with love. So that love transitioned into them, or just the fact that she was able to take a personal interest in them. So then she was able to have this. It's like 7 forms of love. I think it's more than that, but it's like different versions of love that you take into situations to gain, like love for your neighbor, love for your sibling, love for your mother, father, stuff like that. But when you teach with love, you open up the doors and for different things to effectively change in a person. And you got to have a lot of patience to effectively teach with that same love. You don't have patience, that love is kind of on rocks. Like, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist because you don't have patience, but it definitely means that it's on the rocks. Like, it's constantly changing. It doesn't really have any real foundation. You gotta use that method when you're talking to your kids, because they looking at everything you do and they using it to judge how you going, what kind of person they gonna be. And I say that because if you don't teach them in a way that means something, they always going to have that thought in the back of their mind where they don't really trust anything you're saying. Like, they're going to be listening to you, but they're not trusting what you're saying. And that goes into almost every situation. Like Like if you gotta force a person to do something, then they not really learning anyway. That means that when you're not around, they doing something different. They think in a different way. And the best way to make things change is for the person to accept and adopt the way you do things. That's why brainwashing and hypnotizing people and all this other stuff is like it's forcing a person to change the way they look at things. So effectively, you have taught them to think the way you want them to. But when you really trying to teach somebody something that's going to benefit them and that's for the overall benefit of them, not just you, not your cult, not your ideas or anything like that. When you teaching them in a way that best fits them, an environment that allows them to bring the best version of themselves into wherever they're at, not just where you are or where they at with you and all this other stuff. That's why you always have kids that respect their parents. Sometimes they respect their parents, but then they leave and they go out and they talk to other people with all types of different language. They know how to put on a good face. And that's not the real effective way of teaching. You don't really want somebody to just be able to put on a good face. It does work. It's not like it's ineffective, but it doesn't really make a person a good person. You want to teach somebody in a way that they can adopt it in themselves, see the benefits in it, and utilize it in everything that they do. That's why love and respect are so essential. And even just raising your children, parents, you always hear parents say, you gotta respect me, you gotta respect me. But you're teaching them by how you respect them. How you respect your child at any age is teaching them how to be as an adult, because eventually they're gonna have kids. And that's why you see the grandparents saying, oh, don't talk to your child like that. Don't talk to them like that. Because effectively they learn from you how to force them to do other things. So now you telling your grandchildren, you feeling bad for your grandchildren when you were using the same methods to teach your children. It takes a full circle, and then you seeing the results of everything that you failed at. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta always look at it like, I want to respect my kids, because the grandparents do a great job of respecting the grandkid, because they essentially they know it's not fully the responsibility. So they do things for the kids that's essentially out of the love of their heart. But sometimes when you're a parent, you get impatient, and you do things that don't really best suit the child in a situation where they get older and now they got to take on or do the same things that you were teaching them. So that's why I say, for some people that have never had it, it's a beautiful relationship when your child respects you and loves you. Because the one thing about it is a child gonna have unconditional love, right? They're gonna have unconditional love for their mom, their dad. But if you don't respect it, it won't respect you. If you don't respect it, it ain't gonna respect you. Just like with a pet. You respect that dog, it's gonna respect you. It's gonna protect you with its life. Literally protect you with its life. But if you disrespect it, it might still respect you, but it's not gonna respect you in a way that you want it to. It's gonna be real iffy, it's gonna be lump-sided. Sometimes the dog just not gonna do what you want it to do. So that's why I say, in every situation, love and respect goes into in every situation. Every living organism has that desire to be loved and respected. Just like if you got a plant and you grow flowers in your garden, a person that really loves flowers in their garden, they treating it with love and respect. They watering it, they catering to them flowers, they catering to it like it's a real child. Just like it's like people that got Jordans, they got them sneakers. They wiping the sneakers off. That's love, respect for them sneakers. They don't want nobody stepping on them. That same respect that you got for your Jordans goes into how you raise your kids. You gotta have that level of respect for them. I don't care how old they is. You don't sit there and be like, oh, I'm your parent. Because now you just does not work. They don't respect it. It's not like they got unconditional love for you, but they're not gonna respect that love for you. It's gonna be on the rocks. It's constantly gonna change. Some days you're gonna have a good child, and then other times you're like, oh, this child don't listen. You gotta be patient when they're not doing things the right way. That's why I was talking about that movie, Dangerous Minds, because that teacher had to be consistent. Even though them kids in that movie was not listening to the teacher, she stayed consistent in how she treated them. She was teaching them in her own way, in her own behavior, how to respect her. And they were seeing that she got real respect for herself because she's not turning into a different person because we not listening to her. They was coasting her in some situations to do things that they knew from the moments that they had met her, from the time that they met her, that wasn't really who she was. So in other substitutes that came in, other teachers that came in, they was able to coast them other teachers to do things that that teacher might not wanted to do, or that they felt like would have made the situation better by forcing them to do something. The principal came into the room one time and the teacher didn't even say anything about how the students was acting. So now the kids are like, whoa, this is different. Like, she feel like you gain respect when you don't push it off on somebody else. So like what I'm saying is, like, she didn't tell the principal because she wanted them to respect the fact that she was asking them to do things and the fact that she was telling them to do things. You know what I'm saying? So her pushing the responsibility off on somebody else by telling on them made them not respect her, or would have made them not respect her. But she did it effectively. You know, she made them understand that she was the one that was going to be with them every day, and that they were going to be the ones that had to respect, that she would have to respect. And that's what I'm saying. Like, me personally, it's something I learned from my own experience. You know, I had one of them parents that always demanded you to respect them, and then, you know, you didn't really always feel like you was respected. So then when I had my own kids, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna respect my kids. I'm gonna listen to their feelings. I'm gonna listen to their thoughts, because I want them to grow up whole. I want them to understand that even if a person don't respect you and they treat you differently, you gotta be consistent in how you talk and how you treat people. Don't matter how they treat you. It shows the respect you have for yourself when a person can disrespect you and you can stay consistent and not change your behavior. It takes a certain level of discipline to be able to be like, this person's not respecting me, but I'm gonna be disciplined in how I react to it, you know? And that's what you gotta be able to teach your kids. Like, oh, mom and dad, I'm doing something wrong, but the mom and dad's not changing how they treat me. They being consistent. They must really love me. You know what I'm saying? When you start changing how you do things because you're angry or you're upset, even if it has nothing to do with them, they're adopting that. It takes on, it starts to become who they are as a person, because now they're seeing things on a consistent basis, whether it's like every day, but at the end of the day, like if it constantly changes, if it always changes for these certain reasons, or you want them to understand because you're frustrated, this is this and this is that, you got to be able to show the same thing. So when they having a bad day, you got to be like, oh, like just like you be like, oh, I got off work, I'm not really in the mood for this. You want them to be understanding, and that's not even in a child's capacity mentally to know what you're going through. Most people as adults can't even do that. You know what I'm saying? So when you talking to your child, you got to have a level of patience to be like, take it. That's why they call it, forget what it's called, compartmentalizing. Taking something from a different situation and keeping it over there and bringing another situation and being in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Not bringing things from past situations, you know. And honestly, people that have been hurt in relationships, they have to learn how to compartmentalize too. That past person, that last person, the person that was before the person, you got to compartmentalize those things. You got to put each one into a certain box, and you got to leave it there. You can't just start bringing it out and scooping it all together, like, you know what I'm saying, mixing it. It's like somebody making you a plate and they got the mashed potatoes flowing in with the corn and flowing in with the chicken and stuff. Like, put it in its proper place. Separate the things that need to be separated. You know what I'm saying? So that you can have a well-structured situation. You know, it doesn't mean that it's not there. It doesn't mean that it's not on the plate. It's just in its proper place. And when it need to be utilized, it can be utilized. Doesn't mean that you're not eating everything on the plate at the same time. It doesn't mean that it's not there. You remember it, you see it, you know you put it on a plate, but at the same time, you're not bringing it into, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like it has its proper place. And that's what I'm saying, like, to go back to the respect of your child, put it in this proper place. Put the situation that's stressing you out in this proper place. So when your kids run up, hey, daddy, hey, mommy, what's this? You know, they saying all this crazy stuff, saying stuff that don't make no sense, just talking about random things. Sometimes they just literally trying to be annoying. Just literally, like they just doing stuff to just annoy you, but they playing. You gotta understand. You gotta be able to be like, okay, just like you would want them to understand that. Oh, I had a long day. You see, I'm tired. You gotta be like, oh, okay, I see that you're playing. You know what I mean? Sometimes you see parents like a child to be like, no, mommy, and they playing around, joking or whatever, or they saying something to you, and the parent go, you be like, okay. Now, the parent might feel in the right. Some other people might see like, okay, you check your child. But the correct way is to be like, why you say that? Do you think there's a better way to say that? Could you have said that differently? That's not the way you talk to adults. You know, because now they see that and they like, okay, that's how you talk to somebody that does something that you don't like. Okay. Both situations are teaching. And when you listen, that's not what you say. That's not how we talk. You can say that a different way. If you don't want to do something, let's talk about it. But you still might have to do it at the end of the day. You know, say stuff like that. Talk to them in the manner that you see them. That's why you always see coaches like, you see a coach, they be like, I'm going to teach you from your potential. I see something great in you. That's how you got to teach your child. That's how you got to teach a child. You got to teach a child in a manner like, oh, I know if you figure this out, this is how you going to operate. This is how you going to do things. And that's how you got to look at it. Like, at the end of the day, you a working project. You a work in the process. Just like if you was working on a car and you had a car that you brought, it's like a 77 something, and you need to put work into the car or whatever. You know, at the end of the day, that moment that you pull that car up on the lot and you start working on it, it's a working process. That don't mean, just like a child, it's going to take time before that child understands everything you're trying to teach them. So expecting perfection or expecting them to do everything every day, sometimes just like you wake up, you know you're supposed to be on time for work. You wake up late too sometimes, right? Understand that that's your child that does the same things that you do as an imperfect person. You got to be patient. You got to be able to be like, all right, listen, you late. Showing discipline at the same time. You late. You need to get up. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, that consistency, that teaching, no matter how long it takes, is going to develop into something beautiful. Just like the work that you put into the car. You don't know how many times I worked on the car. And at the end of the day, something backtracks, something don't fit, something you got to go back and get differently, or it just don't look the way you thought it was going to look. So you got to change it, you got to refix it, you got to take it off, put it back on, something like that. That car that you're working on is going to have its own problem. And sometimes people got patience for things that they care about more than they got patience for other things. Like, that patience has to roll over into everything. Otherwise, it's really not a trait or attribute that you really got. If your patience is only working in situations that you care about, then it ain't real patience. Anybody can have patience for something they care about. Patience is not about you having some care for it and it's working for you. That's not patience. Patience is you have no care for it and you can still show that same level of patience that you could for something that you do care about. That is the definition of patience. It is not when you don't care. It's not when you care about something and you can do that. That's called love. That's called love. You got ability to keep doing something. When you got patience, that means you don't care about it and you can still show the level of patience for it. You know what I'm saying? Those are different words. You know what I'm saying? They all kind of work together in a way, but it helps. The best situations come when all of those things are put together into one situation. No matter what it is. Sometimes you start caring and loving something because you was patient with it and you stuck with it and you learned this is this and you start to see, oh, I'm getting better at this. Oh, this is starting to get better. Oh, this is actually working. You know, that's when you start to be like, oh, you know what? And that's with a lot of things. You know how many times I tell my kids, oh, you gonna like this. And they're like, ugh, that's nasty. I'm like, but why? You gotta, like, it's a different type of love that you gotta have for certain things. Like eating well. Like everybody like eating sugar, you know? People that don't like eating sugar, they understand that too much of it is not a good thing. But everybody likes things that are easy to accept, you know? But the person that has self-discipline, the person that has patience, the person that has self-respect, they learn things from a situation and they take it and say, okay, this is what's gonna help me to be better. People that enjoy learning, are always the ones that be like, I don't really know this situation like that, but I can see it getting better. I can definitely see it getting better. Like, I don't really care about it, but I know if I learn it, it's gonna be good for me. I don't really want to be in this class, but if I want to graduate, I'm gonna have to stay in this class. I'm gonna have to pick it all up and learn. That's the same process that goes with anything. It's called self-discipline, being like, all right, I gotta put it out. I gotta put this into this proper place and just do what I gotta do at the end of the day. It don't really matter about anything else, just what I gotta do. Having vision to see the end goal, and no matter what situation it is, you gotta be able to do that. It's essential for any situation. And to be honest with you, no matter what you love, what you really care about, is always something in there that you really don't want to do. That's why you have basketball players, football players. They love football, they don't like working out. They love football, but they don't like eating healthy. They love football, but they don't like the film study. When you really love something, you understand what you got to do to be great at it. You know what I mean? So you got to be disciplined to be like, all right, if I'm going to be the best version of myself in this certain situation, I got to have the self-discipline to say, this is what I need to do, and this is what's going to help me to be better. I need to eat healthy. I need to watch film. I need to watch tape. You know what I'm saying? Just like a singer. It's a lot of things. Like, yeah, you want to be an actor. Everybody got the dream. I want to be an actor. I want to be this. I want to be that. But if you don't got the self-discipline, be like, all right, I got to get up at 8 a.m. and be on set for 20 hours, 10 hours, 8 hours a day. I gotta stand up when I'm tired. I gotta do I gotta do this same scene 30, 40 times. I gotta do this and this and this and that just to be great at whatever I'm trying to do. It's all a part of a process. And if you got the vision, you got the dream, the vision has to constantly be opened up to see things that are beneficial for the vision and the dream. The vision is nothing without having clarity on what's going to help you see things in a proper way, so that it can so it can really show its fruitage, so it can really turn into something special. Like, you can't be unwilling to sacrifice some certain things to be great. And that's why you see a lot of basketball players, football players like Tom Brady. Tom Brady, a perfect example. Tom Brady is a perfect example of what I'm saying. Tom Brady had to sacrifice time with his kids, sacrifice time with his family, just to be a great football player. You think Tom Brady likes sacrificing time with his family and his kids, but that's what he had to do to be the best football player he could be. And there's a lot of people that, and it's not like you got to give up every moment of the day, but you got to give up enough of it so that you can become better. You got to explore all options and take everything into consideration so that you can become better. And if you're not willing to do that, then greatness is not even in the picture. It's not even going to become a part of your journey. It's not even going to be the end goal, honestly. So you got to be willing to do all those things.
So I got Robbie, where's this thing to go on it?
So I always say, be patient, be willing to do everything it takes to get where you're trying to go. Be willing to sacrifice parts of yourself that you can gain in the later part of your life. When you're starting to think about the moment, everybody wants what they want right now. It's so easy to want that. But true sacrifice means that you give up something you want right now to do something later. It's like, I'll be wanting to watch the football game, but I'd be like, you know what? Let me clean up first. Let me vacuum so that when I'm watching a football game, I can be all the way in the football game. You know what I'm saying? I don't got to worry about, there's somebody coming to say this is this and this is that. I call everybody, be like, do you need me to do anything? Is there anything on that? Because I want to be in this football game. Let y'all know now, this is what I'm trying to watch today. You know what I'm saying? Sixers play tonight, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to have no distractions. I want to be all in. You know, that's the same thing. You got to be self-disciplined to be like, all right, what do I need to do so that I can do what I want to do? So that I can so I can truly enjoy what I want to do. That's the same thing with anything, like being a football player, being a basketball player. I got to do the film study. I got to work out just so I can truly enjoy it. Because then when you start to take shortcuts and you don't do everything that you need to do, okay, then you get injuries. Then you're not really running the full speed and you're exhausted. Then the coach is taking you out the game. And then you don't really know what the plays is because you didn't do no film study. You ain't go to, you know what I mean? It starts to take things away that you could have possibly been, taken to another level, like, and enjoying it at its full capacity. And honestly, you enjoy it because you fully prepared. It's like when you go to school and you didn't study for that test and you sitting there, even before you get to the class, you're like, man, I got a test in Miss Jenkins class. Oh my God, I'm not gonna pass this, John, bro. I don't even know. And sometimes you pass even though you didn't. Sometimes you pass, you didn't even study. But are you just trying to pass, or you trying to be the fullest, to be the best version of yourself? And people be like, man, I ain't trying to study. I ain't trying to do all this other stuff. I want to play. But listen, you can do both. You put in a good hour of studying, and you do that 1, 2, 3 days a week or whatever, or you paying attention in class, because honestly, you're not getting anything on the test that you ain't really was ever prepared for. So being in the moment, taking the time out to do what you got to do when the time is available. That way, when other things come up, you can be able to do those things and know that when tomorrow comes, you're ready. So like what I'm saying is, perfect example. All right, it's a party you want to go to at 8 o'clock at night. You know that, no. It's a party on Sunday night, right? Party Sunday night. And you got a test Monday morning. Gotta be up early for that test. Gotta be on school, everything back. So you be like, all right, I want to go to this party. So you're like, what can I do to make sure I'm ready for my test and still go to this party? So, because in college is different. College is way different. You get the freedom to do a lot of things, but you still got to be ready for what the same assignment or the same type of structure that you had in school, with way more freedom. And then with that freedom is the outlier, and what defines how much discipline a person has. A person that has the proper processes in place to study and to be ready for certain things for school, they are like, it's not even like they probably gonna pass. No, they have done the things necessary for them to pass. It's not no magic trick out here. A person that's smart, they put in the work. Like sometimes a person naturally has an ability to pick up things. That's fine. But know what it takes for you to pick up something. That's what learning yourself is about. Knowing your strengths, knowing your weakness, sharpening those weaknesses so that they can be somewhat in the same realm of those people that got that natural ability. Like, listen, like people always look at Michael Jordan, they be like, man, he was the GOAT. True, he was the GOAT, but he wasn't always the GOAT. He wasn't the GOAT in high school. He wouldn't have got cut from his basketball team. People don't understand that a process took place once he got in high school going forward. He started to work at a level that pushed himself to be a great player. Like, he was not the GOAT in high school. He was not the GOAT in high school. Nobody knew that Jordan was going to be that. Even on the day of the draft, they knew he was a great player. He was, They knew he was a good player, but they didn't know he was going to be the GOAT. Nobody seen it coming. Same thing with LeBron James. People might have even seen it in high school, but that was just the work that he had put in at that moment. That was when it started to shine. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you got to do. You got to be able, all right, this is what I need to do. And honestly, sometimes you got natural abilities and certain things that work in your favor so that you can start shining earlier, so that so that people see that you got a certain level of skill that can be utilized on another level at an early age, because you just got certain things that just make you better than other people. They give you different advantages that other people just don't have. And you got to be able to be like, all right, cool. I can accept that mine is not like that, but I'm going to still put in the work. And that's what it's going to take. Like, that's what it's going to take, you know. And to be honest with you, you know, I started learning this later on in life. That's especially when I go back to the point about how you raise your kids, you know what I'm saying? Because now I got kids. I got a 9-year-old, I got a 6-year-old, and I got a 1-year-old, about one in a couple months, you know? So each one taught me something different. I had a daughter first. Anybody that knows having a daughter, they got this, especially if you're a guy. When you have your daughter first, it's a different thing. When you have a boy first, it's a different thing. I didn't have a boy first, so I can't speak on it like generally, but I know that if I had a boy first, it would have changed my whole perspective on things. Like, you can just be yourself having a boy. You don't really step out your comfort zone too much as a boy, having boys. I felt like I stayed the same person having a boy. And for most guys, having a boy first is not really life-changing. It can be life-changing in the fact that you have somebody that you care about, but a daughter is so different. I don't know how other people feel about having it, but you gotta really come out your comfort zone. That's why you seen that movie Tooth Fairy with The Rock in it. And he even though his daughter came into his life long after she was born, but he was doing Game Plan. Game Plan was The Rock. And he had to take on the responsibility of raising his daughter for the first time. But the whole thing is, you learn that it's stuff that she's really gonna care about that might not be guy-like, might not be male things, but you're gonna be like, she likes this, I love her, let me show some interest in it. Now every guy does that, but if you really care, even if you care like half the time, you're gonna find yourself doing things that just ain't guy-like. You know what I mean? You might hug your son, but your daughter gonna want different level of attention. She gonna want different things from you. And it honestly opens you up to being like, man, fuck all this guy stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the definition of being a man, it doesn't even define anything. It doesn't, because when you got a daughter, she just asking you to do things that you just might not, like, she doesn't even understand it, but she knows that she wants you to be involved in it. You know what I'm saying? So you just like, I don't want to. And she's like, Dad, please, Daddy. And you're like, man, we got to do this, though. She's like, yes, you got to do this. You got to put on the pink fingernails. You got to do this, got to do that. You're like, man, why you ask your mom? I don't want to ask mom, I want to ask you. You're like, man, you sure I got to do this? And then she's teaching you how to be a girl. Like, she's like, nah, you daddy, you got to do it like this. You got to do that, you got to do it. She's like, oh my God, bro. I hope nobody sees this. Hope nobody at my job sees this. But, you know, thanks to social media, we're seeing fathers doing these type of things, and we like, oh snap, I'm not the only one. Like, I know I never told my friends I had to do this certain stuff, so I know they ain't know. But then you see social media and you see other fathers having to do certain things with their daughters, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I ain't the only one. So it's a beautiful thing now. You seeing, like, you gotta sacrifice yourself. You gotta sacrifice the things you like to do. Now, I ain't saying you don't have to sacrifice the things you like to do with your son, because you might have a football dream and your son got an art dream. So it all does come into play in some situation. But, you know, having a daughter, you got to be more sentimental. You got to be more emotional, because she's emotional. You can't say certain things, even though your son's going to be emotional too. Son's going to be emotional too. But your daughter, you know, you just learn. You just learn. And you know what's funny? I honestly wish I could have had a daughter before I went into any relationship, because then I'd have been able to know certain things that I just didn't know. Like, you know, a lot of guys they're not familiar with certain things, especially if you dating a guy, he got all brothers. I don't know. That's why sometimes the girls that had all brothers, they do so well in relationships. They get it. They get the guy stuff. They get it. They understand it. You know, a guy that didn't have a sister, sometimes the guy that had a sister that's right behind him, he do well in relationships because he gets it. His sister's not going to be all women, but a general idea, especially if the brother and the sister got a good relationship, they get it. You know what I'm saying? And it just translates. And that's what life is. It all translates. Just like if he got a good relationship with his mom, it all translates. It helps you to be a better person because you're understanding a different gender and how they think and how they process things and how they react to certain things. So now you like, okay, I get it. So back to respect, to close everything out. You gotta be able to respect your brother and sister to develop that relationship with them. You gotta have that respect for your mom, and she has to have that respect for you so that you can love yourself enough to love somebody else. And then to understand what that love looks like when it comes from another woman. And then you translate that into all of the situations. It all works together. Every relationship kind of intertwines itself. So just wanted to close everything out with that.